Hello and welcome to Stay Paid, the sales and marketing podcast from Reminder Media, on a mission to help you grow your business so you can live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today. My name is Joshua Stike, and today I am not joined by Luke Acree. He's actually out of the office in Atlantic City at a conference called the Triple Play Realtor Convention and Trade Expo, which is a conference that combines the tri-state area here on the East Coast, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. So if we got a chance to meet you there, it was great to meet you. I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk to Luke about it when he returns. If you're new to listening to the podcast because you saw us at the conference and we handed you one of our Stay Paid cards, welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you part of the Stay Paid family. But today on the podcast, we have an awesome interview. I'm guaranteeing it now. It's going to be an awesome interview with someone that's going to make up for the energy that Luke usually brings. I tend to be the quieter one on the podcast. So we have a guy that's going to balance that out today. His name is Mike Cuevas, or more commonly known as the Real Estate Marketing Dude. I'll let Mike tell us more about his backstory, but this is a guy that has had a ton of success in the real estate world as a top producing agent and as a broker, and is now running his own marketing company offering personal branding services, content creation, websites, and video marketing, really the whole gamut for anyone who's starting from scratch on their personal brand. Mike Cuevas, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited, Josh.
Did I get that name right? I was practicing it.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, you're good. You hit it. You nailed it on that first shot. It's usually either Cuevas, Cuervo, Jose Cuervo, Cuevas, or I've even been called. Well, I can't say this one because I got to be PG-13.
We gave you the warning at the beginning. So this is awesome. We met you through your podcast, I believe. So I think we actually reached out to you to have Luke on the podcast. Real Estate Marketing Dude is the name of that podcast. If you guys get a chance to check that out, I believe the podcast came out beginning of November. And it was really cool because I think listening to that podcast and just hearing each other's kind of views and passion and story, you know, everyone else seems in the marketing world, especially in real estate, to be driving towards all of the lead generation. How are you generating leads for your business? How are you running Facebook ads, building all this stuff? And I think our passion, our belief, and yours as well, from what, you know, just kind of learning from following you on your website and your content, is what so many people forget about or get pulled away from. And that's really what's at the core of every single deal. And that's the relationships, making sure that you're bringing it back to that personal relationship, your personal brand. So why don't you kind of just start us off by giving us your background, tell us your story, how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I am, as of right now, I'm no longer practicing real estate. It actually feels sort of good, but I did it for 15 years prior. And, I've never bought leads. I've never purchased leads. I hate that whole game. I hate sales, to be honest with you. I hate having to feel like I have to put on a sales pitch every time that I'm talking to somebody. And I hated being someone I wasn't. So I just was me, essentially. And what I found was that, a lot of this stuff is all relationship based. But what we've always been really good at is just generating attention around our brand. And with attention comes business. Because, my philosophy in this business is very, very simple. I nerd out and I follow the stats. 60+% of business still comes from the people we know, not technology, not autoresponders, not Facebook ads, not Zillow, not Realtor.com. I mean, I think the business is right in front of us. I know it is. Statistically, it's proven that. But I think the problem in the industry is everyone's chasing a bunch of leads instead of chasing a bunch of relationships. And you don't attract business without a first thing being intact, and that is just having a relationship. I think the key here is really how the hell do you sort of stay in front of everybody? How do you remain on top of mind without hitting everyone over the head with your lockbox constantly? And for those of you listening, how often do you like actually being sold to yourself? And I want you to reverse engineer and put yourself in your audience's shoes on Facebook and absorb the sales messages that you're creating as someone else not being you, and then look at your brand and then make an analysis of what you think about it then.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's so critical now to put yourself in someone else's shoes because we're seeing 5,000 pieces of advertising every single day. So if you're not connecting with somebody or leveraging the relationships that you already have, you really are playing lottery marketing. And that's where a lot of people get into, where they're not sending the right piece of content that's connecting with someone. They're not sending the right message. They're forgetting completely to remind people that they already know what will add value or help drive their business. So with what you're doing today, kind of talk a little bit about how you're helping agents. Obviously, you're helping mainly real estate agents, but I know a lot of this is going to be able to apply to really any small business owner, any service-based sales professional. What are you doing? Because you talk a lot about just looking at your content and everything, the systems that you've created, kind of moving away from lead generation systems and building these attraction-based systems. So what does that look like to you? What are you coaching people on there?
So it all starts off with what's your end goal, and mine is very simple. Don't forget I exist. I'm a stat nerd. I'll start with the stats in mind, and I'll tell you sort of how it works. A lot of us are trained and brought up that we need thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I don't think that's true. I think we just need a core group of strong relationships, and I'll tell you why. In the real estate space, these are the numbers I don't want any of you guys to forget. If you're going to write anything down on this podcast, write this down. 10 to 15% of the population moves each and every year. Okay. So I want you to do the math and reverse engineer that and look at your lists of where you can market or reach your database with. So if you have 1,000 Facebook friends, there's roughly 100 to 150 of them moving this year. That's just a mathematical fact. Now, the problem is that not all of them know what the hell you're doing. So how the hell do you sort of stay on top of mind? Now, one of the statistics that have stayed true since I've been in this whole game is that 60 to 70% of people still use the first agent they speak to, right? So if 60% of people still use this first agent they speak to and 60+% of business comes from referrals and or past clients, what should be your number one goal in real estate? Be the first freaking person they speak to, right? So when we don't generate leads, we generate attention with everything we're doing. And we do that through content creation. We create media around the brand that is very more authentic and relates to whom they are as an individual.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a nerd, be the biggest freaking nerd out there.
Yeah.
In my case, if I'm going to be a dude, I'm going to be the most loudest dude out there.
Right.
If you're going to be an animal lifesaver, then make sure you're screaming that from the rooftops, because I believe that people are going to use the agent that they ultimately connect with.
Right.
And have you ever heard the term brother from another mother?
Brother from birds of a feather flock together.
There you go. Sister from another mister. It's absolutely true in real estate.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't attracting doctors. I swear too much. So I have nothing in common with them. But the day I realized that, I started attracting more people because I just started being me.
Yeah.
The biggest problem we get today is agents who come out and they try to resonate with every single person. And the truth is that you do not.
Yeah.
The reason why 10 out of your last 12 clients are your beer drinking buddies now is because you attract like people. We all do. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is making it easier to create content that'll keep your brand in front of your database.
Yep.
And then B, multi-purpose that same content to attract other people who aren't part of your database yet.
Yeah. So how organic is that? Is that because we've talked about it as well. So many people try and please everybody. And really, if you're niching down and focusing not only on a specific thing or service that you provide, but also an audience or target audience, which is going to be able to relate to you. People want to do business. They want to work with people that they like. How much of that is organic? How much of it is a strategy that you actually sit down with folks and help them build? Does that make sense? Like, do you sit down?
Pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think one of the issues is that a lot of times it feels weird thinking of ourselves as an individual brand,
right?
Because we're individual people.
Sure. Yeah.
And the second that you can realize that you are the brand, folks, 96% of people didn't hire the broker you work for. As a matter of fact, they could care less about who you work for. And they hired 96% of them chose the agent. Therefore, quit marketing your broker's brand and start marketing your own. But to market your own, you got to figure out what the hell you stand for.
Yeah.
And to make it simple, I mean, your brand is really just a reflection of whom you are, visually, messaging. It's just your overall persona. Let me give you a really good example. I think it's easier when people put it into context.
Yeah.
So we had a husband and wife couple. This is a really cute one. Husband and wife couple. They're out of DC. They've been in the business for about 3 or 4 years. Now their name is just the last name group, right?
Yep.
Nothing special. But we are sitting there doing a deep dive with them, and we're like, dude, who the hell are you? Like, what do you do differently? So during that meeting, he's like, Mike, I don't know what it is, but my daughter's friends are like always asking me for advice. They're asking me if I should marry this guy or if I should do this. And then my friends are coming over here asking me which is the best type of food to cook on the grill for Christmas. And this guy's just like a resource, right? So we're like, dude, you're like a therapist. And then his wife goes, well, yeah, it's like everyone just wants us to put the pieces of their puzzles together. I'm like, boom, that's it. So the way we built out their brand logo, and a lot of people think a brand is just a logo. No, the logo is just a visual reminder of your existence and what you stand for.
Right.
The brand is the overall picture. So we ended up coming up with a logo that has a couple. The wife's on a ladder. They're like these little cartoon caricatures. It has their group name, but they're putting a house together, which is made of a bunch of puzzle pieces.
Okay.
Right. So their brand name is putting the pieces together, putting the pieces of your life together one home at a time.
Nice.
Something along that. That's their tagline.
Yeah.
Now, the main theme and or strategy is that they put things together. Okay. They are the people that glue together the solutions you're working for. Now, that's what they stand for because that's just who they are.
Yeah. I mean,
now that becomes a central theme throughout all of their messaging and everything. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So we came up with a really cool closing gift idea for them. And what they're going to be doing is because their whole thing is built on like a puzzle pieces, and that's the concept, like creatively, their closing gift is a picture of the house. They send it to a puzzle maker and they frame it, and it's a puzzle of their house.
That's awesome.
That is an experience I'm going to freaking remember.
That is.
Right?
Yes.
Now, they're going to also create a media show that has that same concept in mind. One of the favorite types of videos I like doing right now are the business owner interviews. I like creating local community content, local hyper community content. And the theme of their content isn't going to be on all businesses. It's going to be on businesses that put pieces together, right? They have to have the same sort of storyline in all of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by reaching your brothers from another mother, right? So let's pretend they're going to a pizza restaurant. Now, the context of, and they're just doing a business interview, well, they would probably be talking about how you put the pieces together of the end pizza that they have, or the end result of the pizza that comes out of the final oven or whatever it is.
Yeah.
See, like when you put the main theme and storyline together, it's virtual to everything you do in your business, and that's exactly how you build the brand.
Well, it's so good. It becomes that guiding light. It's really a guiding light that you can continue to come back to, where you're telling your story, and then every other thing that you're doing is reinforcing that story, that narrative. Absolutely.
You hit it right on the head. And that's exactly, like, I like that guy. Or I like when I, before I was selling, this has only been 18 months I'm not selling. I moved to San Diego from Chicago, moved across the country, quit my real estate career, and did it all in a whim. I realized that about 8 years ago, I'm like, screw it. I'm going to be a Chicago real estate dude. And everyone's like, you're crazy, dude. You're stupid. You're putting a cartoon and you're calling yourself a dude, and you think you're going to go out and sell like $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 freaking condos. I'm like, yeah, I don't really give a sorry. Long story short, what ended up happening, like, I attracted a lot of dudes and dudettes. Like, yeah, I turned off a lot of people, but what I found was that people were like, you either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
Right? You either can resonate with it or you can't.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because everyone lives somewhere. Don't they?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
the world is full of people living places. Yeah.
There is. Unless your friends live in a freaking box, it's not a matter of when or if they move. It's a matter of when. Because it's 6 to 9 years.
I mean, in that market, in the real estate industry, it's so powerful, because if you were to go into a more niche industry, all of a sudden your demographic or your target is shrunk down a little bit. Then you go with something more specific like your personality and shrunk even more. But when you are in real estate, what you're saying is everyone in your community is an opportunity to do business with, or to refer you to someone that you can do business with. So it becomes that much more important that you are separating yourself and you're creating a brand that's going to resonate with a certain group of people. Now, one of the things that you mentioned was talking about nobody cares what brokerage you work for. And I'm curious about this because we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast. It's come up in other conversations. People ask us sometimes, should I leverage the national name recognition of a RE/MAX, of a Keller Williams, of a Century 21, or should I really focus on branding myself as an individual? And it seems like you're more on the side, obviously, of branding yourself as an individual. What do you say to people who would make the argument that leveraging that name recognition of a RE/MAX is powerful?
Yeah. Well, one, I'd say the major reason I believe that people do that is because they don't have enough confidence in themselves to begin with, period. And no doubt, I was the same way when I first started. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a brand new agent, then yeah, you're going to need to leverage your team, your brokerage for whatever you can. But if you've been in the business for 5 years and you're still leveraging RE/MAX or Century 21, and no knock on those companies whatsoever. Yeah. But I mean, come on, get it together. You're running a business.
Yeah.
right? And at the end of the day, look at what's happening in the industry. Like, people hate real estate agents in general because they don't think we make enough. They think either A, we make too much money, or B, don't earn it.
Right.
And unfortunately, 90% of the time, they're correct.
Yeah.
And that's just the sad truth of it. We have to do more to earn our commissions and earn our money today, and that's coming through excelling in the level of service we provide, knowing your marketing expertise, and all the above. So for those that actually say, "Oh, I need to leverage this," I just think it's a lack of confidence. Yeah. In all honesty.
And I mean, drilling it down. Go ahead.
And I'll give you a good example on another scenario.
Yeah.
The uber duper luxury markets, though, I think that's true, though. You know, like in the 10 million plus, the 15 million plus, like the Sotheby's brand, for example, in the high end. Yeah, people still do that, but that's a small niche where the vast majority of us don't work at.
Yeah.
And here's why I say that, you guys. Every year, you will lose, and I'm talking to your audience here, you'll lose 1 to 3 deals a year to what I call little cousin Billy. All right? Little cousin Billy is that stupid freaking realtor who just got their license, and you have a client that is ready to list their house, and then you call them back up to go take the listing appointment because the new year's starting and they told you to come in February and January. Now, when you get there, the lady or the man says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I have to list with little cousin Billy because he's my family."
Yep.
Well, the reason for that is because blood is thicker than water.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me that people choose people who have a relationship with or family bloodline, that's a perfect example I say to people.
Yeah, definitely.
So I focus on connecting demographically
no, that's
than
awesome.
I do professionally.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the things you're saying there too, to set you apart, like away from the brand, is, you know, the larger brokerage name or whatever, is really the idea of being a local expert. And I think that on your website, you know, just watching some of the demo videos, we talk all the time. We had a podcast a couple weeks ago about how to become a local expert. And you guys have a great video of that we actually recommended doing. And I didn't even know that you had this on your video or on your website as an example of somebody interviewing with a local restaurant owner, right?
Yeah.
And I guess your business model is kind of, you will actually send out the equipment for them to do the recording. And I think it's basically they film it, you do everything else, right? You'll teach them how to use the equipment, you'll show them what to do, and then you'll actually do the editing of the videos. And I thought that was a great way to reinforce being a local expert in your community, and for someone who wouldn't even know where to begin with editing a video.
Yeah, totally. You know, it's like we call it selling without selling.
Yeah.
And the only reason people hire a real estate agent is because we're local experts. They're using us for our real estate knowledge, but they're also using us for our local expertise. You know, we're the best schools, we're the best restaurants, all that kind of stuff, commutes, beaches if you're in a beach town or whatnot. But what we're really doing by creating content that focuses on the community is saying that we're a local expert without saying it.
Right.
You know, and that's what I mean by branding.
Well, it's kind of the idea of tell it, don't sell it, right? You know, you want to tell the story, not necessarily. Yeah.
Show, you don't have to sell anyone anything if you could just infer it. And that's what we mean, is that the content we create doesn't hit people over the lockbox. It hit them over the head with lockboxes on real estate content, but it does subliminally suggest, hey, don't forget, I'm in real estate. Right. You know, and that's the key, is like, it's that subtle reminder, because I want to be the first person someone thinks of when they think of real estate. That's when referrals happen, and that's when direct leads come to you. Yeah.
So going off of this idea of like the attraction-based marketing system as opposed to that lead generation, how are you measuring that? How are you measuring the ROI on that? It's such a tough question because
you can't.
Yeah.
You really can't. I've tried to. Here's the difference between branding marketing or attraction-based versus lead generation.
Yep.
Let's compare it to Zillow, for example. Every 30 days in Zillow, I have an ad spend, right? Maybe it's 2,000, maybe it's 10. I know some guys spending 30 G's, whatever. But during that 30 days, you either made a positive ROI or not. Agree?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, with branding and content creation, I don't believe you could put a dollar amount on it. I've gotten 4 leads, really good leads this month from Chicago from content and videos I created 3 or 4 years ago. So you cannot put a value on your own personal brand, and that's really what we're doing. And this isn't a real estate thing. This is a small business thing, like you said at the beginning. And content creation and building your personal brand is, I don't think you could put a dollar amount on it. Now, the truth is some videos are going to do better than others. Great. But it's the consistency of content creation that builds your brand.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about building just, hey, let's do a video this month and you go 3 months and not do one.
Yeah.
that's no different than me working a farm and only mailing it every other month or when I feel like it.
Right.
It's the same thing. You cannot build a personal brand or strong local presence without consistency in messaging and content creation. And that's really all we do with our company. We provide the consistency and the authenticity and the uniqueness, and we do it all for them.
Yeah. So why do you think video is so important today to be able to get your brand across, to be able to get your personality out?
It's a good question. Video is just a communication tool, and it's an attention getter. So if we look how communication is perceived from human to human, 90% of it is based on tonality or my body language, right? Only 10% of people actually retain what the hell you say. So folks, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. Grandma was right when you were growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. So, I mean, if
you connect.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we preach all the time. There's so many ways, and this is why I think we work well together. There's synergy here, is because we're saying the same thing when it comes to you have to focus on the relationships that are ultimately going to drive your success, whether that's because they're going to use you again or because they know someone that will be able to use your services. I think in real estate, everyone knows up to five people who are moving at any given time, right? So
100% of people can refer you to one client this year.
Right. And then the ability to actually connect with them in multiple ways that's relevant to them. And I think that's where the power of video comes in and is so strong, is because it does have an opportunity to connect with someone in a more relevant way than a lot of the other potential advertising that you might get. You get an email or something like that, and it's just not engaging anymore. So many people are expecting to just to sit and watch something. I don't want to read it, I want to watch it. Right. So what is the where do you kind of how do you keep up with whatever's new in video? Like, how are you guys staying ahead of the type of videos that you're putting out? Because you see it on YouTube every 3 months or something, the style of videos that's popular at the time kind of shifts. So is that something you guys are working on consistently?
Yeah. Well, let's look at Facebook Live. Like, it was really cool when it first came out, and every live shot that came out, you're watching the whole thing. Now, how many lives are you actually watching?
I know, yeah.
Getting on video has evolved, and it's gone more, I think, as of right now, you have to include an attention getter, and it has to tie into a story, period. That's the formula. Preaching to somebody about interest rates and market updates is just not fun.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to consume that content unless I'm in the market to buy or sell. So content creation, media, and all that stuff is taking on different shapes and forms. Mm-hmm. But that's the whole point of I think that's the power of branding, and why people need it even more right now, is because the brand sets up the content strategy and the authenticity and uniqueness of it.
Yeah. So one of the things you talk about, I've heard on some of your content that you put out, is turning your database into your audience. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I just want to turn my database into the referral source. I know 10 to 15% of them are moving each and every year, and I know 100% of them have a referral for me. The question is just, are they going to connect the dots when that referral pops up?
Right.
And that's why you have to sort of be everywhere all the time.
Yeah. Well,
people are bombarded today by messages. And everyone knows a realtor.
I think so many people, they look at their database and they think that is their audience. But if they're not listening, if they're not paying attention to what you're saying, if you're not putting out content that's actually resonating with that audience or that database, that list of people, that's really all that they are, is a list.
Correct. A database without consistent communication is nothing more than a spreadsheet with a bunch of info on it. An audience and a database are two totally different things. An audience is a list of people that actually pay attention to what the hell you're saying.
That's awesome.
A database is just a spreadsheet.
So what are three things? I mean, you're running a business, you're generating leads for your own business, you're doing your own branding, you're doing branding for other agents. What are three things that you're doing every day that are really driving success in your business, driving success in your personal life? Do you have any routines like that?
Consistency all the time. I'm really busy right now, but I do my best to get my podcast out the same day each week. Right. I do my best to try to write a blog post twice a month. Right. When you're creating content, you have to reverse engineer it and plan your own media calendar and then execute on it. So really, to do it right it's time management. I have it set up in my schedule that I'm just writing video scripts for people. I have it set up in my schedule where I'm just doing my own videos, right? I have it set up in my schedule where I'm just doing content creation. So it's just a series of time blocking, and it's no different for realtors. it's when we don't have the plan, or we don't have a media calendar, as we say, that it becomes hard to do. But when you have the media calendar, it's no different than anything you do.
Yeah.
We all brush our teeth in the morning, right?
Yeah.
It's a system we're trained to do.
Right.
I look at media and content creation no differently.
Yeah.
It's just something I have to do, and I set the block for it.
You have to. I mean, it's very hard to be creative on a dime, but whenever you have that consistency, I think even like Stephen King, we think that he just sits down and can write a novel, but would literally, whether he had anything to write or could think of anything, every single day he started writing at the exact same time and wrote for those 8-10 hours, whatever it was. Even genius writers like that, they have that consistent schedule. And I like tying that back to anybody. If you see the value in the relationships that you have built, right, then you owe it to those relationships. You owe it to your business to provide that time to get your personality, to get your content out there. Anything else during your daily routine that you would?
No, it's really consistency. I do like to write down my day. Like I still use a lot of pad and paper. And I write down what I do the night before for the next day, like my big items.
Yeah.
That's always something that I've done. But, most of us in the real estate industry are like a D type personalities, and a lot of our brains work off a series of checklists.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in that, just create your checklist every night, but get in the habit of doing it.
Nice. So if you could go back and tell yourself anything as a younger agent, starting your business, whatever, like what would be the one thing that you could go back and tell your younger self?
Well, don't get into real estate. No, I'm just kidding. Younger self, I would say, don't be scared to be who you are. Just be you. The way the world is right now in social media is, I think I lost some years on my own personal brand, trying to be somebody that I wasn't. And I think that's a major issue for a lot of agents, especially the new ones. So the new ones that are newly licensed, I would say. So, don't be scared to be you. God only made one of you. There's a reason we all have our own fingerprint, and your voice does matter. So be you and scream it from the freaking rooftops, and don't hold anything back.
Love it. Thanks so much for being here, Mike. Before we close out, kind of let people know where they can connect with you. Tell them about your company, your podcast, whatever you want to plug there.
Yeah, thank you. So my company's name is Real Estate Marketing Dude. You guys are more than welcome to go out to our site. Feel free to take all the free content. We got podcasts, a lot of blog content. There's a free training course on there that you can take. But essentially what we do is we create media around your brand, so we make it hard for your database to be forgotten about. And we do it without really having to talk about real estate. So what we do is it's a full done-for-you video marketing strategy. We do personal branding services, but people come to us. We shoot all of our videos on our cell phone, and we've Uberized the video game in a sense that we cut out the videographer. The biggest problem why people can't do this is because it's too damn expensive.
Yeah.
And we've created a way that you could create videos, relatively speaking, for pennies on a dollar of what they would cost otherwise. And it's all shot with your cell phone. So we train you, we teach you, we script you, and we build you a video script, and it becomes a little reality show for you. And we carry your back end.
That's
We're
awesome.
The assistant you can't find that you want to find is the way I put it to people.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and it's a great execution of that idea that really holds people's hands the whole way through the process. Absolutely love it. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for listening. If you liked what you heard today on Stay Paid, please go on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, and make sure to leave a comment. You can also find our podcasts, including this one, in video on youtube.com/ReminderMedia or staypaidpodcast.com. Make sure to tell someone else about the podcast today. And if you'd like to get hold of me or Luke, please email us at podcast@remindermedia.com or find us on Instagram or LinkedIn. And of course, you can check out Reminder Media on social media. We are at Reminder Media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike, and today's action item is going to be a pretty simple one. I want you guys to go to realestatemarketingdude.com. I want you to click on the sample videos and go down. There's about 6 of them on that site. And this isn't, obviously, we want to plug Mike's website here, but what I want you guys really to look at is those are 6 examples of videos that you could make today. You can go out, you can interview a restaurant owner, you can talk about your local expertise. I think one of the sample videos on there was a guy who said, I'm not a realtor, I'm a San Diego expert. And really kind of branding himself that way. Look at that, because that's That's just ideas. You have to be out there. You have to be looking at other content to get inspiration for your own. How can you then translate that into telling your own story? What really makes you unique? What is your oneliness that you can point to in your business that attracts a certain group of people that are going to connect with you and want to do business with you? So check that out today. Remember, guys, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer is top producers take action. So take action on that today.